My name is Clara. I'm 32 years old, and I live in a small town nestled in the mountains of America. It's the kind of place where everyone knows your name, where towering green trees mark the seasons, and where the winters are crisp and cold. For a long time, my life was a quiet, happy melody. I had a wonderful husband and 2 beautiful children. I believed our world was unshakable. But life has a way of rewriting your story when you least expect it. I met my husband, Michael, when I was only 20. He was 10 years my senior. People whispered about the age difference, but their words were just background noise to me. Michael was gentle. He was a carpenter, and he coaxed beautiful tables and chairs from raw wood. His hands were strong and calloused, but his heart was incredibly soft. With him, I felt utterly safe. We were married on my 21st birthday in a small wooden chapel by the lake. I wore a simple dress the color of a pale blue sky, and Michael wore a clean white shirt and dark trousers. It was modest, but it was profoundly special. My mother wept tears of joy. Michael's father gifted us his old house, and that little house became the center of our universe. 2 years later, our son, Noah, was born. He had Michael's dark, wavy hair and his large, thoughtful brown eyes. He was a calm baby, soothed by the sound of music. When Noah was 2, our daughter Sophie arrived. She inherited my smile and Michael's strong, determined little hands. She was a fussy baby, crying through many nights, but her laughter in the morning made everything worthwhile. Our home was filled with a constant, happy hum. The children's laughter echoed through the halls. The sound of Michael's saw buzzed from his workshop behind the house, and the smell of my cooking filled our small kitchen. Every Sunday, we would all go to the farmer's market. Life was a whirlwind, but it was a beautiful one. Michael was always my biggest supporter. "Clara," he would often say, "you need to learn the business side of things, too. If anything ever happens to me, you have to know how to manage everything." I took his words to heart. I began helping him with orders, writing invoices, and speaking with clients. Michael was so proud of me. Then, one cold winter evening, our world fractured. We were hosting a small dinner for some neighbors to celebrate a major new contract. Michael had just completed a large project for the new town school. Everyone applauded him, raising their glasses in a toast. Michael just smiled and said, "It was a tough job, but I loved every minute of it." Later that night, long after our guests had departed, Michael sank onto the couch. His face was pale and tired. He wiped a bead of sweat from his brow. "I feel a little strange," he said. "Maybe I've been working too hard." I rushed to get him a glass of water, but he didn't drink it. Closed his eyes and whispered, "My chest hurts." A cold wave of panic washed over me. I called for an ambulance, but it was too late. Michael's heart gave out right there in front of me. I screamed. I clutched his hands, begging him to wake up to come back, but Michael was gone. The days that followed are a blur, a haze of grief. People came and went, bringing casseroles and flowers. They murmured condolences, saying things like, "Be strong, and he's in a better place." But I didn't feel strong. I felt like my entire world had been hollowed out. Noah was 9, and Sophie was 7. They didn't fully grasp the finality of it, but they knew our family was broken. Sophie cried herself to sleep every night. Noah became quiet and withdrawn, spending hours just staring out the window. I stopped smiling. Food lost its taste. I spent most of my days in bed, a prisoner of my own sorrow. My mother came to stay, but even her presence couldn't pierce the thick veil of my grief. One night, a tiny voice pulled me from the darkness. It was Sophie, standing by my bedside. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice trembling. Please don't leave us too. We still need you. Her small hand found mine in the dark. I looked at her, her eyes glistening with tears but also shining with a desperate love. In that moment, something inside me stirred. I sat up, pulled her into a tight embrace, and promised, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here with you. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed and made breakfast. It was just toast and eggs, but it felt like a monumental achievement. Noah gave me a small, hopeful smile when he saw me in the kitchen. Sophie wrapped her arms around my waist. I started to reclaim my life, one small act at a time. I did the laundry, cleaned the house, and helped Noah with his homework. I finally found the courage to step into Michael's workshop. It was cold and covered in a thin layer of dust. His tools lay on the workbench, exactly where he had left them. I ran my hand over the unfinished wooden chair he had been crafting. A single tear traced a path down my cheek. Then I remembered Michael's words, "You have to know how to manage everything." I found his notebook. He had meticulously documented everything: client names, prices, detailed drawings. I started to learn, slowly and painfully. I called his first client on the list and said, "I'm going to try to finish your table." It was far from easy. I made countless mistakes. I cried often, but I refused to give up. One day, tucked away in Michael's desk drawer, I found an envelope with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter. "My dearest Clara," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. Please don't cry too much. You are so much stronger than you know. Take care of Noah and Sophie. They need their mother. And please don't forget to take care of yourself. Life is still beautiful. You just have to look for the light again. All my love always, Michael." I clutched the letter to my chest. It felt like he was right there with me, his voice a comforting presence. His words became my mantra, my source of strength. I poured myself into my work. I finished the table he had started. When I delivered it, the customer said, "This is perfect. Michael would be so proud." I smiled, a real smile for the first time in months. But deep down, a profound loneliness remained. I missed Michael's voice, his laugh, the way he held my hand as we walked by the lake. Some nights the grief was a physical weight, and I cried silently into my pillow so the children wouldn't hear. Time crept forward. Winter thawed into spring, which blossomed into summer. I continued working, and the business slowly grew. I even hired a young man to help with the heavy lifting. People in town would say, "You're doing so well, Clara." But they couldn't see the emptiness I still carried inside. One evening, walking home from the market, a flyer tacked to a community board caught my eye. It read, "Embroidery class every Thursday at 6:00 p.m. Come learn, relax, and meet new people." I stood there for a long time, staring at the sign. A quiet voice inside me whispered, "Try it." Maybe I just craved the company of others. Maybe I needed something new, something that was just for me. Maybe I was finally ready for a small change. I looked up at the sky, painted in shades of pink by the setting sun. I thought of Michael and his letter. Life is still beautiful. You just have to look for the light again. I touched the worn letter in my coat pocket, a habit I had developed. And so I decided to go to the class. Before I continue my story, I want to ask where you are listening from. Knowing that someone out there is hearing my journey, someone who might understand, gives me incredible strength. Please, let me know in the comments. I would be so grateful to hear from you. The embroidery class was in a small community center next to the town bakery. The first night, I slipped in quietly. The room smelled of fresh linen and flowers. 6 other women sat around a large table, surrounded by colorful threads and fabrics. One of them looked up and offered a warm smile. "Hello there, you must be new," she said. Her name was Grace, and she was the instructor. She was a lovely woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver hair pulled back into a neat bun. "Come, sit here next to me," she offered. I took the empty seat. Grace patiently showed me how to hold the needle, how to pull the thread through the fabric, how to create tiny, even stitches. My hand trembled at first, but Grace patted my arm reassuringly. "Don't you worry," she said. "We all start out like this." I found a strange comfort in the feel of the soft fabric, the quiet hum of conversation, and the gentle laughter that filled the room. I didn't say much, but I listened. When the class was over, I stayed to help clean up. "Will you be joining us again next week?" Grace asked. "Yes," I said quietly. "Thank you." I started going every Thursday. It became my sanctuary, a time that was solely for me. Sophie would always ask, "Mom, can I see what you made?" Noah would look over my work and say, "That's really nice." One evening, as I arrived at the center, I saw Grace speaking with a man near the entrance. He was tall, with broad shoulders, and his jacket was dusted with soil, as if he'd been working outside. Grace spotted me and waved me over. "Clara, come here. I'd like you to meet my nephew, Jake." The man turned, and I found myself looking into a pair of soft blue eyes. He had light brown hair and a gentle, unassuming smile. He was 29 and worked as a landscaper, designing gardens and caring for the town's parks. "It's nice to meet you," Jake said, extending his hand. "You too," I replied, feeling an unexpected blush creep up my neck. "Jake's here helping me fix a broken shelf in the back room," Grace explained. I smiled and moved past them into the classroom, but I felt Jake's gaze on me for a moment longer. My heart fluttered, and I wasn't sure why. After that night, I saw Jake more frequently. He would stop by the center to help Grace with odd jobs. He hung new light fixtures and carried heavy boxes for her. He always made a point to say hello, and we would exchange a few words. One evening, I stayed late to help fold fabrics. Jake was there, tightening a loose leg on one of the tables. He smiled at me. "You're always helping out. That's really kind of you." "I just like to stay busy," I admitted, tidying a box of thread. Jake paused, then looked at me directly. Would you like to get a coffee with me sometime?" I froze, my hands stilling. "I mean," he added quickly, "only if you're comfortable, absolutely no pressure." I looked at him. He seemed sincere and calm. I felt a knot of nervousness in my stomach, but also a flicker of curiosity. "Okay," I heard myself say. We met at a small cafe down the street. It was cozy inside, the air thick with the smell of coffee and cinnamon. We talked for hours. Jake told me about his passion for working with plants and trees, how he found peace in watching things grow. I found myself telling him about Michael, about Noah and Sophie. I didn't share every detail of my pain, but I told him enough. He just listened, patiently and without judgment. "I know how hard it is," he said softly. "I lost my own dad when I was 15. Grief takes its own time." His words resonated deep within me. We were two people who understood loss. Perhaps that's why I felt so safe talking to him. After that evening, Jake and I started spending more time together. He would walk with me at the market, or come by the workshop to help with small repairs. One day, he brought Sophie a small, hand-painted flower pot. "For you," he said, "so you can grow your own flowers." Sophie's face lit up. "Thank you," she chirped, hugging the pot. Noah was more reserved, observing Jake with cautious eyes, but Jake never pushed. He was simply present, helpful, and kind. One Saturday, Jake joined us for a trip to the park. As the kids ran and played, we sat on a bench, the warm sun on our faces. "You're really good with them," I said. "They're great kids," he replied. We sat in a comfortable silence for a moment before I asked quietly, "Do you ever feel guilty for being happy again?" Jake turned to me, his expression thoughtful. "I did for a very long time," he said. "But someone once told me that love doesn't end, it just changes shape. You don't erase the past, you just make room for the future." His words were a balm to my soul. That night, sitting in the workshop, I looked at Michael's photograph on the shelf. I thought about our life together, about his letter. "You are stronger than you know. Life is still beautiful. Was it okay to feel something again? Was it okay to smile with someone new?" One evening, I told the children that Jake was coming over for dinner. Sophie clapped her hands. "Yay!" Noah just shrugged. "Okay." He wasn't smiling, but he wasn't frowning either. We made soup and baked bread. Jake brought a pie from the bakery. After dinner, he helped Noah fix a broken toy truck and showed Sophie the right way to water her little plant. After the kids were in bed, I walked Jake to the door. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I love being here," he replied. "You have a beautiful family." I looked at my feet. I don't know where any of this is going. I still think about Michael every single day. "You should," Jake said gently. "He's a part of you. I'm not trying to take his place. I just want to be here if you'll let me." Tears welled in my eyes, but I smiled through them. "I don't know what the future holds," I whispered. "Then let's find out together," he answered. The weeks melted into months. Jake slowly and seamlessly became part of our little world. He helped Sophie with her school project on butterflies and played soccer with Noah in the yard. On rainy days, we'd bake cookies and listen to music. I still had my sad days, but they were fewer and farther between. My heart, which had been frozen for so long, was slowly beginning to thaw. One afternoon at the market, Sophie looked up at me and asked, "Mom, do you love Jake?" I stopped walking. "I don't know, honey," I answered honestly, "but I care about him very much." She smiled. "I like him, he makes you smile." That evening, I sat with Noah as he did his homework. "Do you miss Dad?" I asked him softly. He put his pencil down. "Every day," he said. I took a breath. "What do you think of Jake?" He was quiet for a moment. "He's not Dad," he said finally. "But he's nice. He doesn't try to be Dad. That's good." Relief washed over me. "Would it be okay if Jake was in our lives for a long time?" Noah looked at me and offered a small, rare smile. "I think so." That night, I walked alone to the small bridge where Michael and I used to take the kids. The air was cool, the sky a blanket of stars. I closed my eyes. "Michael," I whispered into the darkness, "I miss you every single day. But I want you to know the kids are happy. There's someone new in our lives. He isn't you, and he never will be. But he's kind and gentle, and he respects our story. I think you would want this for us. I hope you're proud of me." A soft breeze brushed against my cheek, and it felt like an answer. I stayed there for a long time, letting go of a little more of the pain I had held so tightly for so long. A few weeks later, Jake came over with a small box. We were in the garden, watching the kids draw on the pavement with chalk. "I have something for you," he said, handing me the box. Inside, on a simple chain, was a silver key. "It's the key to my house," he explained. "I want you to have it, not to rush anything, but just so you know that I'm all in for you and for the kids." I held the key. It felt both heavy and light. "You don't have to move in tomorrow or even next month," he said. "Just whenever you might be ready." I looked up at him. "What if I want you to move in with us instead?" A wide, happy smile spread across Jake's face. "That would make me the happiest man in the world." We talked to the children again, making sure they were truly okay. Maya jumped up and hugged him. Noah said, "It's fine, just don't take my room." We all laughed. A month later, Jake moved in. It was quiet and simple. He brought his books, his guitar, and some plants for the windowsill. The house felt fuller, warmer. Some nights Jake would play his guitar and Maya would dance while Noah tapped along with his pencil. I would watch them from the kitchen, a sense of peace settling over me that I hadn't felt in years. One night, Sophie asked, "Will you and Jake get married?" I glanced at Jake. He just smiled. "Maybe one day," I told her. "But you were married to Dad," Noah pointed out. "Yes," I said, "and I loved him with all my heart, but it's okay to love again." Noah considered this. "Dad would want you to be happy," he concluded. I kissed the top of his head. "Yes, honey, I think so too." I still talk to Michael, not out loud, but in the quiet corners of my heart. I feel him when I walk by the lake, when I hear a song we both loved, when I see his reflection in Noah's eyes or hear his joy in Sophie's laugh. He is still here, woven into the fabric of our lives. Jake never asked me to forget. He simply offered to walk beside me into the future, and that was exactly what I needed. Today, our life isn't perfect. There are still days when the grief is sharp, when I miss Michael so much it aches. But I've learned that pain and love can coexist. My heart is like a house with two doors. One door holds the beautiful memories of my past, and the other opens to the promise of the future. I've learned to keep both doors open. And that is more than okay. If this story touched you in any way, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. Your support means the world, and more emotional and inspiring stories are on their way.